Hey y'all, it's Heather from Pink Magnolia Wreaths, and I'm so glad you're watching today. Check us out at pinkmagnoliawreaths.etsy.com and follow us on Facebook. Today we're going to make an awesome truck and pumpkin fall wreath. And I'm so glad you're crafting with us today. So the first thing you're going to need is your kit that you can get from us on Etsy, and it's going to come with a few things. First thing is going to be your 18-inch wire wreath frame. It's also going to come with 18 pipe cleaners, 2 rolls of 10-inch mesh, and it's going to come with 3 different ribbons, okay? It's going to come with this 1.5-inch green plaid, 2.5-inch pumpkin, and this 2.5-inch pumpkin and green truck. Isn't that cute? I love that. It's also going to come with this green truck sign. So we're definitely getting on the truck trend with this wreath today. Other things you're going to need that don't come in your kit. You're going to need something to measure with and something to cut with. If you have a rotating cutter, that's great. If you don't, you can just use your crafting scissors. Also, you're going to need a hot glue gun with some hot glue, but we won't need that for a little while. And you're also going to need probably about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Okay, so let's make our wire wreath form. Okay, I also think it's important, if you're like me and you're working on a table that you don't want to get scratched up, it's important to protect your surface. I've just got this little vinyl tablecloth on mine, but you know, towel, sheet, anything you can put down to not scratch your table up is probably a good idea. Okay, so we're going to take one of our pipe cleaners and we're going to fold it in half. Okay, we're going to start at this crossbar. See, there's 3 wires going across, 1, 2, 3, and you've got these little crossbars that go all the way across. So just start at 1, it doesn't matter which one, and you're going to crisscross your pipe cleaner and twist it 2 times. Okay, and you're going to fold it down. So then we're going to go in between 2 crossbars. You see, here's one and here's the other. Right here, you're going to get this outside in the middle ring, crisscross and twist twice. Then fold it down towards you. We're going to go all the way around doing this pattern. So let's do it a couple more times to make sure everybody's got it. So you're going to go around this crossbar, crisscross, twist it twice, point it towards yourself. Then you're going to go beside of it. Before you get to the next crossbar, you're going to get the bottom and the middle wires, crisscross your pipe cleaner, and twist it around twice. And then point it towards yourself. These are what we're going to use, and it's going to use to put our mesh in. Now, after you've gone all the way around doing that, we'll do the inside. So if you want to pause it and finish your whole first row first, that's fine. Or if you just want to watch me do it, that's fine too. So I'm going to start on my second row just to kind of show y'all how to do it. What you'll do is, for your second row, pretend you got your whole first row done, or maybe you do. You're going to get the front wire and the middle wire in between your pipe cleaner, and it's going to go right on top of this one we already did, okay, right beside of it. Crisscross, twist twice, and point towards the front, point away from you. Then we're going to come in between the 2 cross wires, get the inner ring and the middle ring in your pipe cleaner, crisscross, twist twice, point it away from you. Then we're going to go, you're going to get the middle and the front around your little crossbar here, crisscross, twist twice, and go to the front. Now, I know when you have all these pipe cleaners on here, it's going to look a little intimidating if you've never made a wreath before. Do not get intimidated, you can do this. Now, if you've made hundreds of wreaths, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. But if you're your first one, don't stress, we'll get it done and you can do this. All right, so I'm gonna finish mine up And we'll come back when my wreath frame is all the way complete. Okay, so this is my completed wire wreath frame. Now I know it looks like some kind of spider or creature from the Black Lagoon, but it'll look much better when we're done. So just make sure it looks like this, where you've got 2 on each of the crossbars and 2 in between each of the crossbars. Like that. If you missed one and you figure it out along the way that you missed one, just add it on there. Also, I'm pretty sure I told you the wrong number of pipe cleaners at the beginning. It's going to be 32 pipe cleaners on here. So don't freak out if you got to 18 and you wondered why you didn't have enough pipe cleaners. Okay, so we're going to start on the bottom row first. I'm going to start with my orange mesh. If you would rather start with this poly jute mesh, that's fine. But I'm going to start with the orange because I want to. So go ahead and open that up. Sorry for the plastic sounds. Okay, so we're not going to cut anything right now. You're just going to kind of gather it all together like this in your hand. Like this. And you're going to pick one of the pipe cleaners on the row closest to you, on this outer row. Stick it in here. Twist your pipe cleaners and do it as tight as you can twice. Okay. So then is where your stuff you're going to measure with comes in handy. I'm measuring with my craft mat. You can get these at Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Amazon, anywhere that sells craft supplies. And what you're going to do is you're going to put this pipe cleaner and you're going to measure out 12 inches, okay? So my box is 12 inches. So, got 12 inches in my hand. Make sure it's not twisted up, because if it's like this, it's going to look weird. So make sure it's not twisted. And then open up the next pipe cleaner. Put it in there. And crisscross and twist as tight as you can 2 times. So now you've got this little poof, little ball of mesh. Okay, so now we're going to do that again. So you're going to measure out 12 inches of mesh. You're going to pick it up. Make sure it's not all twisted up. Open up your next pipe cleaner. Put it in there. Crisscross, twist twice. If you want to twist 3 times, that's fine, but we are going to need you to have a little bit extra right here because we're going to put more stuff in these same pipe cleaners. Now, we're going to go all the way around. Let me show you a couple more times how to do this. Make sure we've all got it down pat. Measure out 12 inches. And if it's not exact, it's okay. Don't stress. Just do the best you can. Make sure it's not all twisted up. Open up that next pipe cleaner. Tighten it up. And I just kind of fluff as I go. Okay, let's do it one more time just to make sure we're all on the same page. Measure out 12 inches. Make sure it's not twisted. Put this part you've got gathered in your hand in the pipe cleaner. Crisscross. Pull it tight. Twist twice. Okay, so now we're going to go all the way around with that same pattern. So I am going to come back when mine is all the way around. Okay, so now I've almost finished my bottom row, and I'm going to show you how to finish this off. So we're measuring our 12 inches. Making sure it's not twisted. Putting it in the pipe cleaner, and I just go back and kind of fluff it out. This is called the poof method, and you want your poofs to be poofy. Okay, measure out another 12 inches. Now this wreath is going to be really large. If you feel like 12 inches is too big for your space, you can make 10-inch poofs instead of 12, and it will still look nice. If you wanted to make 14-inch poofs, you would need another roll of mesh. All right, so we're almost done. 12 inches, thereabout. And you're going back into this one you originally started with, and you got this little bit of tail right here. Turn it a little bit so the camera can see it a little better. You got this little tail right here, and this is one we're finishing in. Okay, let's fluff that one out. You notice we haven't cut anything, but yours should look exactly like this, poofs all the way around. So now we're gonna do the inside ring. So you're gonna get your roll of mesh, and you're gonna pull it to the inside of your wreath. You're gonna get where you just finished. And you're gonna get this inside pipe cleaner right here. And I want you to pull it nice and flat and tight. And you're gonna twist your pipe cleaner around it 2 times. So now we're gonna make poofs around the inside. And these poofs are gonna be 10 inches. And if you're doing the modification that I told you about making 10-inch poofs around the outside, I would probably still do 10-inch poofs around the inside. I think 8 inches would just look too small. But if you like it that way, then it's okay. There's no real right or wrong to this, which is why I like it. So I measured out my 10 inches. Now I'm fonding my pipe cleaner on the top row that's next. Putting it in there. And tightening it back up. And then fluffing it out. Just like how we did it on the outside. Just a little bit trickier because now you got so many pipe cleaners poking at you. All right, so let's do it again. Measure out 10 inches. I think I measured out 12 inches on this one. Let me fix that. Because if I do it 12 inches all the way around again, we will run out of mesh. And if you have to undo a poof and redo it, it's totally fine. It's not gonna hurt anything. It's not gonna mess it up. And that's what I like about these, is it's kind of hard to mess up. Okay, there's 10 inches again. And if you're short like me and don't have very long arms, sometimes the size of a wreath frame can be a little bit tricky. Alright, I'm going to show you how to do it like 2 more times and let you do it on your own. Okay, so 10 inches. Make sure it's not twisted. Find your next pipe cleaner. Put it together. Now mesh does like to stick to itself, so sometimes you kind of carefully unstick it, especially when you're getting so much mesh so close together. Okay? All right, I'm gonna finish making my loops all the way around and come right back. Okay, so now we've got our poofs all the way around. And you may have a little bit of a tail from where you started or where you ended. Just push it through to the bottom. This is the bottom, so you don't have this big pokey thing on top. And I'm just gonna get my scissors and cut it off. I'm gonna leave a little bit so that it doesn't come loose, because you don't want it to come loose and your wreath fall apart. So there's that. So the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna make a ruffle. So you're gonna need what you're using to measure with, and you're gonna need something to cut with. I like to use a rotary cutter because I think it's easier, but if you don't have one, you can totally just use scissors. My scissors are super girly and cute because I'm a boy mom and I don't want my kids to use my scissors. So what we're gonna do is measure out 20 inches. And I always like to put something to hold my mesh still so it doesn't roll up on me. And then you just cut it at the 20-inch line. There's one. Now we're gonna cut again, do another 20-inch. And you'll notice this is just a partial piece of mesh because I pretty much used all the rest of mine making this. Well, and I ran out. So anyway, I don't think y'all need me to show you how to make the same cut a bunch of times, but you just measure it out to 20 inches and you can cut it. If you don't have a rotary cutter, then just cut it with scissors at that 20-inch line. We got our 20-inch piece of mesh. And like I said at the beginning, if you wanted to do the jute mesh as your poofs and the orange mesh as your ruffles, that's totally fine. But all right, now I've got the jute. So what we're gonna do is make it into a ruffle. So you're gonna get one of the cut edges and point it towards yourself. And we're gonna pinch the bottom just a little bit. And we're gonna scrunch it with our fingers. You just walk your fingers up till you get to the end. Try to keep it straight. Thankfully this has some lines, so you just kind of pick a line and follow it out to the end. When you're done, you'll have this kind of butterfly or flower shape, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And I'm just going to show you what we do before I tell you how many we're going to make. You're going to take it, you're going to put it in one of the pipe cleaners on the outside row, crisscross it, and twist it just like you did with the poofs. And it's just gonna fill out your wreath. Because you can see how we can still see the black or dark green wire wreath frame, and this is gonna help give us more coverage for that frame. All right, so we're gonna do, let me see, I wrote down how many we're gonna do of this. I think it's 8 on the outside and 7 on the inside. So go ahead and cut 15 pieces of 20-inch mesh. Mine are already cut, so I'm cheating, but I did that off camera. And I'm just gonna continue to make my ruffles. And you just work your fingers all the way up till you get to the end, scrunching it. And it's not always gonna be exactly perfect or exactly even, and that's okay. It doesn't always have to be the same. Now I'm gonna alternate pipe cleaners. So here's one that has a ruffle. I'm gonna skip the next outside one, just right here, and go to the next one. So I'm not doing a ruffle in every pipe cleaner. So I'm doing the 20-inch pieces, ruffling them, and alternating pipe cleaners. So give me just 1 second and I'll come back with my completed ruffles. Okay, so I've gone all the way around the outside, alternating pipe cleaners and putting one 20-inch ruffle in each. I've also gone around the inside and I'm almost done doing my 20-inch ruffles. So let's do a couple more and then we'll be done with this step. So my mesh is a little misshapen here, so let me flatten it out. Okay. So you get cut side towards you, which is what I've got, and then you pick one line and you kind of follow it all the way up while walking your fingers towards the top. And just take your time, you don't have to be in a hurry with it. Then you'll have this kind of bow butterfly shape. So I'm coming back over here to my wreath. I got a ruffle here, empty pipe cleaner here. So I'm putting it in here. And don't be afraid to just get in there and squeeze and push on your mesh. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how I kind of shape it, because that looks kind of flat, right? So I'm gonna pull this up, re-poof my poof, pull this side over and fluff this side up too. So the ruffle's kind of pulled forward. It's not flat, as you can see. And that gives you a real pretty shape. All right, I've got one more to put on there. And if you don't like having the kind of ragged edge on the side, or maybe you're better at cutting straight than I am, you can roll it a couple times and turn some of that under, and then you have a straighter edge if you like to do it that way. And they call that a ruffle or a woodland ruffle. I did not invent that, but that's another good technique. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick it down in here. Tighten it up, and then we're gonna reshape. So pull it apart, fluff your poof back out. There you go. So now we've got this big fluffy creation. So as you do this, you may notice that you've got some like stringing or fraying. And if that bothers you, you just go back through and kind of cut off any kind of loose strings you've got going on. Some of it doesn't really bother me, especially with it being for a fall wreath. It kind of reminds me of like rope or raffia. And I think it gives it a little character and a little more body. So that's all the trimming I'm going to do on it for now. So the next thing we're going to do is cut our ribbons. So you've got 3 ribbons in your pack. Let's start with this one. This one is your 1.5 inch green plaid. And you can be like me and drop it on the floor. Or you can leave it up here on your table. And this is how I measure mine. Just measure out 14 inches. Use your yardstick or ruler or cutting mat like I'm doing. And just cut it at the 14-inch mark. If you have what I have an easy bow maker. And you can order those on Amazon or get them at Hobby Lobby or where have you. Let me untangle this ribbon. You can stick it on the spool and you can kind of measure it out through here, and sometimes that makes it a little bit easier. So that makes it 12, 14, and you can cut it right there. So it's just kind of however you like to measure. Whatever is easier for you is the right way to do it. So of this green plaid, we're gonna cut 15 14-inch strips. So go ahead and cut those out and then come back to me and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've gotten it down to my last 14-inch strip. Once you get them all cut, I like to try to make sure that I've got them cut straight on the end. And then we're going to do something called dovetailing. If you don't want to do this, this step is completely optional. I just think it makes it a little bit more finished. So what you're going to do is fold your ribbon in half this way, so it makes it real long and skinny. You're going to have the crease. If you're right-handed like me, the crease is going to go to the right side and the edges towards the left. You're going to get your scissors and draw an imaginary line from this corner down, diagonal, and you'll just cut it and make it a little, almost a little triangle. And then you'll do the same on the other side. Now you can probably do a few strips at a time. You don't have to do them one at a time because that makes it take a really long time, but that's what I like to do on the ends of all of mine. Okay, I have 15 of those. And there's still a good bit of ribbon left on my roll. Okay, so now let's move on to the truck ribbon. All right, so we're gonna do 14-inch tails of this as well. And you'll just measure it out 14 inches. and cut it. And we're gonna have 8 of these. So cut 8 of those. And I've got most of mine pre-cut behind me. Let me count how many I've got. So I'll see how many I have left to cut. 1. All right, I've got 8. And it looks like I've dovetailed all of them except for this one. So again, just to go over the dovetail one more time, fold it in half with the seams together. Draw an imaginary diagonal line and cut. And again, if that's something that you think you don't want to do, then that's totally fine. It is not going to mess anything up if you skip that step. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to do the pumpkin ribbon, which I've also mostly pre-cut all of mine. So let's see how many I need of this. I think I need 7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I gotta cut 2 more of those. Measured out to 14 inches. And again, I mostly dovetailed all of them. Gonna do it with these 2, and then we'll be all done cutting our ribbon. And I like to make sure mine are cut pretty straight across the top, because then when you dovetail them, they're not, one corner isn't really longer than the other. And try to make sure you got them all even. Okay. All right, so that's all the ribbon cutting we're going to be doing. So get your wreath back over in your workspace. And for that outer row, we're going to do a green truck ribbon with a plaid ribbon. Okay, so I typically put the skinnier ribbon on top of the wider ribbon. Some people would rather do just whichever ribbon is their favorite on top and the other one on bottom. I usually like the look of the skinnier on top. You do it either way you want to. And we're gonna kind of do the ruffling technique on this again as well, except we're not doing the cut edge towards ourselves. We're gonna do the seams. And you wanna go to the middle of the ribbon and you're just gonna kind of scrunch it and walk your fingers up. And you got it in good pinch. I like to bend it like this. And then I'm gonna put them in between the ruffles. So you're gonna put it in there and twist the pipe cleaner around, and then you'll have it a little ribbon tail like this. So we're gonna go all the way around the outside. So I'm gonna show you again. I got a plaid one, and I got a truck one. I put the plaid on top of the truck. You can do it the other way around if you like. You can even alternate one on top of the other and then the other one on top. This is how I like to do it. So here's your ruffle. So I'm gonna go in the next one, put it in there, and then twist your pipe cleaner. Now I'm not undoing the pipe cleaner before I put the ribbon in. I'm just putting it in straight on top. If you want to undo it, you can do it very carefully, but I just think it's not necessary, and your poof may kind of come loose, so I just don't do it that way. Okay, so I've gone all the way around the outside, alternating the ribbons with the ruffles, and now we're going to do the inside, and the inside is the smaller section there. All right, so now I've got my pumpkin ribbon and the green plaid, and I just love green and orange for fall. So we're just gonna scrunch it and fold it in half and find an empty pipe cleaner on the top, put it in there and twist. Now, as you can see, my ribbons are kind of at all different angles going around here, and we're gonna reshape and kind of reposition them a little bit at the end, but right now I just wanna go ahead and get everything on there. When it's all together, it's not gonna be super obvious if you put things too close together, or if you're OCD and it's gonna bother you, just fix it. Whatever's gonna be less stressful for you. Okay, so let's do another pumpkin here. This one's got a little string on it. Just gonna cut it off. Sometimes ribbon doesn't always do exactly what you want it to. And you can see there's like a little frame on the end of this ribbon. That doesn't bother me. If it does bother you, just cut it off. The only thing I don't like is these long strings. And I do try to make sure there's no wire pointing out at the end. All this ribbon we're using today is wired, and you can see this one has a good bit of wire in it. I just try to make sure none of it's poking out so it doesn't poke me or someone else. Okay, so scrunching it back up. Finding a pipe cleaner with no ruffle and putting it in. Okay, and I'm gonna do this, looks like about 4 or 5 more times, and then we'll come back and we'll kind of reshape everything. Okay, so I've gone around and put all my ribbons in. Now I want you to pause and plug up and start preheating your glue gun, because we're gonna need it for our next step. I've got mine heating up right over here, but I'm gonna set it off to the side so I don't accidentally bump it and burn myself. I can be kind of accident prone, so safety first. All right, I do have a little bit of fraying right here that is bothering me, so I'm gonna cut it. And now we're gonna go shape our ribbons. I like the look on the top of kind of folding them over like this. So I go straight up with them and then kind of fold them over all the way around. And I did end up with an uneven number of poofs on the top. So I do think I have 2 ruffles next to each other, but I think it still looks good. Like I said, these wreaths, it's great because they don't have to be absolutely perfect and they still look good. Now we're gonna do the bottom. So the bottom, I'm not gonna do them quite so pointed over the poof. I'm gonna pull them down and do them kind of like a V shape. And just kind of spread them out a little bit so they're poking kind of more straight out. I'm gonna do this all the way around. Kind of pull them out in a V and just spread them out. I feel like it gives it a little more coverage of the wreath form and just a little more body this way, because we don't want the wreath form showing through. That's kind of our goal, is to make sure that's pretty well covered up. So I'm going to go all the way around and do that. Almost done. And then we'll work on adding our sign. Okay, so I've got all these kind of pulled out and shaped, and I'm pretty well happy with it. If you don't like the way your ribbons look or you want to change something about it, you definitely can. And if there's anything we've done today that I've gone over too fast, just back the video up, watch it again, pause it as you need to. That's totally okay. Work at your pace. Now, you will have a little bit, 2 to 3 feet left of your second roll of ribbon, mesh that you made the ruffles with. And that's okay. If you want to just add another ruffle in there, that's fine. If you want to just throw it out, that's fine too. So now let's go back to the wreath. And we're going to work on making our sign. Okay, so the sign has a little string attached to it here. We are just going to cut that off. We don't need it, not serving any purpose. Cut that off. All right, so now we're gonna get our hot glue gun, and you should have 2 pipe cleaners left. so hopefully your glue gun's heated up by now. Hopefully mine is too. You're just gonna squirt some glue gun. I just do it on the inside of the string. You can kind of do it on the outside or on top of it, whichever. Now I just have to be very, very careful. They do make little finger covers you can put over your finger for holding stuff in hot glue, and sometimes I remember to do that, and sometimes I don't. So just be very careful. I typically recommend using Gorilla Glue hot glue. To me, it works really well and holds really well. I know there is an industrial strength hot glue you can order from somewhere. I'm not sure where. Other people definitely recommend the Surebond hot glue, but for me, I like the Gorilla Glue. Just let that dry. I kind of hold it up because I want it to be pretty straight out. And I do typically do it vertical as opposed to horizontal because I feel like it attaches better that way. If you want to do it horizontal, you can. Just make sure you do both your pipe cleaners the same way. Don't do one this way and then one this way, because that's not going to attach very good. Now I'm going to put this one in the same place on the other side. And then I'm just going to go back over the top of this and just cover it really, really well because we just want it to stay super good. All right, so now we're going to set that to the side and let that dry. So while that's drying, we're going to either use our scissors that are super sharp or a wire cutter to cut all of the pipe cleaners short on our wreath. My wire cutter is off to the side, and I'm going to grab that really quick. I don't cut it as short as I possibly can. I do leave just a tiny bit because I feel like if you cut it super short and it moves at all, it's going to lose its grip and your whole thing is going to come apart. So try to give it a little bit of extra space, but cut it short. And then I cut it, and then I fold my two ends down and towards the back. Now we're going to go to this next one where there's a ruffle. I like to use my wire cutters because I don't like to damage my craft scissors, but if you don't have wire cutters, that's okay. A lot of scissors are strong and will cut these. And you just go all the way around trimming those up while your sign dries. So give me just a minute and I will be back. So I've hot glued my pipe cleaners on, and then just a little tip or trick, I got some of the scrap from the pumpkin ribbon and hot glued it on top. And that'll just be a little extra security to hold your pipe cleaner on even tighter, okay? And then just flip your sign over, make sure you don't have any hot glue strings on the top, which I don't. And I'm set it off to the side there. And I know we were talking about cutting off the pipe cleaners off your wreath. I've got a few more I've got to cut here. Let me see, I'm not sure if the camera saw them super good earlier. I'm going to tighten this one back up a little bit. And then I'm going to cut it pretty close, but I'm going to leave just a hair there, like that. And we'll push it to the backs. So the pokey part. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the ruffle. And I'm going to tighten it up a little bit too. I did not do this all the way around, but I am tightening this one up just a little bit. And then you're going to cut. Get the stray pieces out. And you can see I'm leaving just a little bit there. But then I'm kind of folding it down and pointing it to the back. And then kind of re-fluffing. Cutting. And here's my last one. If you find out later that you missed some, just go back in and cut them. No big deal. Okay, so now to me this is the hardest part of wreath making, is attaching your sign. So you're going to get your sign and you're going to flip your wreath over to the back and put your sign underneath and leave your pipe cleaners poking up. And then I maneuver one set of pipe cleaners to where they're at a crossbar, which is kind of hard when you're doing this method, but you're going to find a crossbar, get one end of your pipe cleaner below it and one end above it, and you're going to tighten it up. All right, so we're gonna find the crossbar directly across from that and do the same thing. Except it looks like I've tightened this one up way too much because now I can't reach. So loosen it up a little bit. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of trial and error back and forth with this to make sure you got it right. All right, so I feel like this one is still looser than the other one. I'm gonna loosen it up one more time. I mean, tighten it up. I don't know. We're gonna see what it looks like before I make too many more adjustments. All right, so it's on there. Let's flip it over. I feel like it looks like it's way smushed. I don't know how much of that you can see, so I'm gonna loosen it up. All right, let's look at it now. That looks better to me laying down. And when you hold it straight up, it may look a little bit different. So I'm gonna turn it up. And it looks really floppy. So I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit more. And like I said, with these signs, you just kind of have to play with it till you get it how you like it. And if you like your sign floppy like that, that is totally okay. I like that. I think that looks pretty good. And it doesn't always have to be super centered. Sometimes a little bit lower or a little bit crooked is totally fine. Gives it a little bit of character. And then you just kind of go in and reshape it however you want to reshape it. If you want your ribbons more pointing a different way or a little bit fluffier, you just go through and reshape how you want. And then that's kind of your finished product right there. And I think it looks really good. If you see any pipe cleaners poking out that you want to cover up, just move your mesh around till you get it covered and shaped the way you want it. And there's no right or wrong, but this is how mine turned out. Oh, here is a pipe cleaner. I told you if you miss one, you just go back and cut it. So here we go. I am going to go back on the back and do one more thing. I am going to trim these pipe cleaners. Because if I leave these, they're going to scratch up my door, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to cut these pretty short. I'll fold these pointies towards the front so they don't scratch my door. All right, and now I have a finished wreath. And here's our finished wreath. If you need to reshape anything, just kind of pull your ribbons the way you want them or move your mesh around. And if you did not purchase one of our kits, you can purchase similar supplies at your local craft store. And if you'd like to make one of a different color scheme, then just pick colors that you like. And you can use this technique to make wreaths for every season. Please check us out at pinkmagnoliawreaths.etsy.com and follow us on Facebook. Thanks for joining me today.